Gotcha.
But fast forward to the story.
Yeah.
I connected with Tiffany, and Tiffany's like, "Where are you? Anybody?" She goes, "You do know I'm from Vancouver."
Oh, is it? Did you
And
know
my
that?
and my first sentence was, I was like, "I thought you were Chinese." Burnaby. My family's lived there for 40 years. I was born and raised in Burnaby. I'm coming. And she came here, introduced me to her mother. Her name is Annie. Introduced me to her father, Joe. They're actually still to my adopted parents. They live in Burnaby Heights. They actually gave me a room where I spent, in a small room, no bigger than that washroom, 2 years. They didn't ask me for money. I mean, we talked about money, but then they didn't ask me for shit. And that's where I started my life. That's where I spent the majority of my 1.5 to 2 years till I got my status. So while I was a drifting leaf, had no idea what I was going to do in my life, didn't know whether I was going to stay in Canada, they were my adopted parents, and they still are. They're Malay Chinese. So talk about people, and I'll introduce you to them one day. Amazing people, and they were my adopted family. They're still my adopted family. So my first support system, if I can say anybody, is Annie and Joe.
So they showed you amazing love.
Oh, absolutely. They showed me amazing care. And the only reason they did is because I took care of their daughter while she was in California.
What did Tiffany think? Because here, you know, you talk about having a home and an office, and her coming over and drinking all your wine and you cooking for them, and she's studying with your ex-wife. So you have a whole different life that she knew, and then here you are.
In her country as a refugee, didn't know anything about it.
Were there a lot of questions? Or was it just acceptance of this is your situation now? Come on in.
She came over to Canada. She flew here. She actually flew instead of Vancouver. She went to Seattle, Washington. Because I asked her, I left my car in Blaine, Washington. So when she says she's coming over, I told her there's a key in the safe. Can you please go to my car if it's still there, because I've already left it for a couple of days. I said, would you be so kind to go to my car and go to my suitcase and get some undergarments and socks and everything. And so she changed her flight instead of go to Vancouver. She took a flight to, I don't know if she took a flight to Blaine, Washington or Seattle, but she went there instead of that. And then she came over here, picked me up, took me to her cousin's house because I smelled disgusting.
This is like 3-4 days of
living
in the open.
More than that. Way more than that, buddy.
Wow, I can smell you from here.
Oh, yeah. So she came over, picked me up, and then she said, you stink. You need a shower first before I introduce you to my family. And I told her what I had done. We talked, we went and had coffee, we had lunch and everything. She took me to this amazing Vietnamese restaurant, which we had spring rolls, the best of spring rolls. Then she took me to her cousin's house, which was a second interaction from an extended family, Sean, who's now my little brother. He graduated as a dentist. He's in US now, and I told him not to go to US, and he went to US, and now he's coming back. He goes, US is shit, I'm coming back to Canada. My little brother, Asian. I went to his apartment, I took a shower there and everything like that, and from there I went and met Annie and Joe. And this is where my first life started.
Wow.
And then fast forwarding all the way up until pretty much the end of 2019 is till then again I was a drifting leaf, had no idea.
So you had a roof, a clean, small closet of a room.
Pretty much a small closet.
You could go and come and spend time on the streets trying to figure out what you were going to do.
Right.
And you've always been a enterprising kind of person.
Yes,
you're able to find things. You've done amazing things in your life that people dream about if they could do a fraction of what you've done. So that must have been very stifling, frustrating.
The problem was that till September 2019, I couldn't really do anything because BC is the most heaviest regulated province. The work permit that you get prior to your refugee, a lot of people won't give you a job. You cannot apply for licensing for a lot of things. So I did real estate, I did mortgage banking, I worked at a bank, I did so much stuff. But every place I went to, I applied for 10,000 jobs. I have a folder that has over 6,000 rejection emails. Just for the simple fact that nobody wanted to invest money or time. A bank did, because you may or may not get your refugee status. A real estate company does not want to invest time in you because you may not stay in the country. A financial planner does not want to hire you because he or she does not want to sponsor you for CFP because you may not stay in the country. Countless situation.
When did the significant break happen for you?
When I became a protected person towards the end of September 2019.
That was how long from when you arrived?
2 years.
So 2 years, you're searching, hanging out.
2 years I wasn't really.
You're limited. You can't do anything.
Couldn't do anything.
You could live, but that was
I could live, and I can do jobs like Uber Eats, work at a cash job. 99% of the jobs that I personally have done as a former investment banker, mortgage banker, real estate person were close to me.
Okay. What you were trained for?
What I've been trained for 40 years of my life, where I've made majority of my money, whether it's opening up a company, whether it's doing something, pretty much 95% of the things were close to me. Because it's just not possible.
Was it humbling for you to have to do Uber Eats or things like that, or did you just say, I'm going to do this while I can?
For me, I've always been the person that I have no problem taking 10 steps back in life to take a step forward. I've done that majority of my time. First time when 9/11, I lost my job. Second time when the mortgage industry, the finance industry, the stockbroker industry crashed. That was my first time during the 1990s, late 90s. Then 9/11 mortgage, then the mortgage crash during the Big Short. So for me, you got to step back. Sometimes in life, you got to take 10 steps back to take a step forward.
You believed a better day was going to happen, and when you became protective status, that was a nice moment.
Yes, that was a nice moment. Because for the first time in God knows how long, I had a country that I can call home.
So you're protected now by Canada as a legitimate, legal refugee.
At this moment, I am, as of the end of 2019, I am what is called a protected person under the Immigration and Refugee Board.
Okay.
Once you become a protected person, then you say that you can stay in Canada, then obviously you don't get anything. You're just a protected person. You still have to apply for your work permit, your SIN number. Okay. You still have to apply for PR and wait for it. So the moment I became protected, I applied for PR.
PR, what does PR?
Permanent residency in Canada. COVID happened, so I'm still waiting for my permanent residency. Okay. But as long as I'm continuing to work in Canada and probably do 1% of what I'm doing right now, PR, permanent residency is guaranteed. I mean, with my things that I've done, I don't see any chance of them denying it. So September 2019, like towards the end of the year is when things changed.
Okay.
And I knew that for the first time in my life, or for a very long time, I had a country that I can call home.
So Canada became your home.
Canada became my home.
And now you've got protective status. Now you're going to file for the things you need.
Now I can file.
And then you did what? What were you going to do first?
So for 2.5 years, I was a drifting leaf. I had no idea what I was doing. So September, when again, towards the end of 2019, when this happened, I needed to take a break and figure out what I wanted to do in life. BC, British Columbia, for the people that are watching out of Canada, is the most heaviest regulated province in all of Canada. It doesn't matter whether you're a doctor, lawyer, nurse, realtor, financial planner, financial broker. It doesn't matter what you are. Once you land in British Columbia, you're nothing. I know too many doctors that are surgeons that are driving cabs right now. I mean, in the past 2.5 years, just being in education for 2 years, I've come across so many people that are nothing. And they're surgeons from back home, brilliant people.
Was this the time when you wrote out a plan for
Correct.
what you wanted to do in the future?
So
You went somewhere.
right. So 2020 to 2019 to 2020, once I became a protected person, I needed a plan. So what I did is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say what company.